Okay, good morning. For today's lesson, we'll be focusing on the second type of process along the coast. This is a follow-up from the previous lesson, which we focused on erosion. So once you erode something along the coast, you will have sediments that, because of the nature of the coast being very mobile and always on the move, it will be transported somewhere. So once you have erosion and removal of the sediments by transportation, it will not stay in the water forever. It will be deposited somewhere along the coastal area. Okay, it may be at the opposite coast, it may be further down the coast, but there will be transportation of these materials. Rarely do you find erosion that's allowed to stay in situ, which means it stays in its own original place. What is very important for the transportation component here is that you need to remember there is a need to learn both the well-labeled diagram and the written explanation to explain transportation along the coast. Right? This comes from our analysis of the O-level papers. They never ever just tell you to describe using only a well-labeled diagram. This part of the testing has always been one where it requires both the diagram as well as the written explanation. So I will go through the diagram and the explanation with you shortly. So what you see here is actually the diagram that you need to reproduce, okay, to some degree to complete your answer. So this diagram actually shows what happens with a particle, okay, the blue dot you see, right? What happens to it as it is being transported along the coast, okay? Together with the movement of the blue dot, we also show you some of the other players, the key elements in this process. So what is important is to note these key players first, right? In the sea, as a current, there is a current called the longshore current. Normally runs parallel to the beach itself. It can be from west to east, east to west, depending on where your beach is facing. It can be in any direction, but it runs parallel. Okay, so it's either running from left to right or right to left, right? Current, do you see the current? You don't. Reminder, bring you back to your earlier lesson on terminologies. The current is something that's underneath the waves. Okay, it has an impact on the movement of the waves, but you do not see the current. Okay. Next, interacting with this is the direction of prevailing wind. The prevailing wind direction affects where your waves move, okay? So that direction determines whether your particles move from the left to the right of the beach or from the right to the left of the beach. The final key component that has a role to play here is the direction of beach drift. Now, this simply means which direction is your material going to move towards, okay? So this is affected directly by your prevailing winds as well as your longshore currents. Now, if you look carefully at the diagram, there is only one more very important thing that I have not mentioned. Okay, that is the swash and the backwash. So your dotted line represents the swash, the straight line represents the backwash. Can we inverse this? Of course. You can have a solid line to represent the swash, dotted line to represent the backwash. But you have to remember, your choice of symbols must be consistent throughout. So you cannot have the first swash dotted, second swash solid, because then it will not make sense. So what actually happens? What must I put in as my explanation? Okay, you need to inform the marker that you understand as waves approach the coast at an angle due to prevailing wind conditions. Okay, what happens? The swash carries the sediments onto the coast at an angle. Okay, must I mention what angle? No, because the angle actually varies depending on the movement and the direction of the prevailing wind. After this, what do you need to talk? You've brought the sediment in onto the coast already. Backwash will carry the sediment back to sea at right angle, okay, due to gravity. So the concept here, backwash, right angle, and gravity, very important. As this is repeated overly, it results in this zigzag movement along the beach, and this is known as beach drift. Okay, another term for it is longshore drift. So simultaneously, longshore currents are also generated near shore. Okay, they run parallel to the coast, so they move sediments along the coast as well. So together, longshore current and beach drift combine to form longshore drift. Take a minute to read the explanation points. Now, general reminder, when you're doing explanation paragraphs, keyword is paragraphs. You're not allowed to put it in point form. You're also not allowed to number it. Okay, as long as you put it in point form or number it, your script will have a big white cross over it. Okay, I will thank you because that means I don't need to mark. Right, everything that you submit for your job paper has to be written in paragraphing. So once again, let's take a look at this. Right, so swash, backwash, swash at that angle, backwash vertically down, pull by gravity. Okay, then repeat it as you move the particle, the blue particle here, along the coast. Okay, reason for this movement is direction of longshore current together with your beach drift. Okay, so combined, this is your longshore drift. Now, next, I will show you how to sketch this. This is nothing compared to what you drew for erosional diagrams. So I expect you to be able to reproduce this rather easily. Now, the good news is, if you see a question on beach transportation, you just need to remember this diagram plus the points that we mentioned earlier, and you will get full marks, 5 marks. Okay? And the bad news is, most of the time, this is hidden within a larger question on land form. So the tendency is to hide the concept of drawing this together with the formation of either a spit or a tombolo. So actually, we very rarely see questions that require you to only draw the longshore drift diagram. Okay, but if you're lucky enough, yeah, you know, things happen, and then you may have a question on this. 5 marks. Now, after you've watched the video on sketching, I will need you to do one practice sketch. Okay, one practice sketch of the longshore drift diagram. Right, so use a piece of blank paper and practice one practice sketch. Okay, so your homework will be coming up after this. So once you've done your one practice sketch, you may go into Teams and assess your homework. This piece of homework is due on Tuesday, so we can go through it on Wednesday itself. Okay, so it's due only on Tuesday. Can you please kindly get it done across the weekend? Right, you have until Tuesday midnight to get it submitted to me. Okay, sorry, Tuesday right before midnight. Okay, 11:59. Okay, so finish watching the video. After that, you can go ahead and practice. After practice, do the homework. Thank you and hope you enjoy the video.